Hi.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Rachel.
How are
I'm
you?
great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Nice.
So we've just connected nicely, a couple of minutes ahead of schedule, just to make sure that it's going through.
Yes.
So the elephants are still in the bush,
Okay.
but I think now that we are online,
Okay. Yes,
um,
we
I
are.
will let I will let the keeper team know that we're
Yes.
ready and we can start to get the elephants walking towards us.
Yes, let's do that.
So
Yeah.
Oliver, if you can. Okay, great.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I see there are 25 people looking, so I hope more will join us. Nice that you're joining our live today. I will keep it short because the elephants will arrive from their daily walk for their milk feeds. So, I'm Amber from Friends of the Elephant, and I work at the office and make your newsletter Zambia and do the socials. So yeah, that's amazing. So Friends of the Elephant supports game rangers for about 10 years. So we have done several donations for you. Like when Camp Phoenix flooded in water, we donated a Jeep for you. And also we helped rebuilding Camp Phoenix again, which actually turns out really, really great. So we're thankful we could help. So today's live and we see the Alice. So yeah, Rachel, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining this live today. My name is Rachael Murton, and I'm the Director for Wildlife Rescue at Game Rangers International here in Zambia. And Game Rangers International is a holistic wildlife conservation project. We support wildlife conservation through resource protection work, which is law enforcement and anti-poaching, through community outreach, which is education, women's empowerment, community initiatives, and wildlife rescue, which is the program I represent. And the wildlife rescue is really there to support wildlife that has been injured or displaced as a result of human intervention, and to give that wildlife a second chance for life back in the wild. So today you're joining us at the Elephant Nursery, which is based in Lusaka National Park, the capital of the country. And the nursery is where we bring orphaned elephants at point of rescue. So the elephants are being rescued across the country in different national parks or community areas around national parks, usually as a result of poaching. Over the years it's been poaching, but more and more human wildlife conflict has been the biggest cause of orphaning of baby elephants, and this is really because human populations are growing, and that impacts in the spaces where the elephants are living. So just behind me now you can see the elephants, and I'm going to flick the camera around so you get a much better view of them. Okay, so here we have 7 orphaned elephants, and in the foreground with the word vet on his back is our head keeper Oliver. So all of these elephants have been rescued in and around national parks. Different stories for every elephant, a couple through poaching incidences and more predominantly the others through human-elephant conflict. The eldest elephants we have here are called Deliso and Wamwai, and this is the 2 boys that we have at the back that I'm focusing on. And that noisy elephant is Deliso. He's complaining because he would like some more milk and his bottle has just finished.
Yes.
So Deliso and Wham are around 3 years old, and they are ready to be moved to the release facility, and that's going to be happening quite soon. When they join the release facility in Kafue National Park, they will then take their steps towards becoming wild. The next elephant size down is 2 females, Chukumbi and Indewa. I'm looking at Indewa right now. She's in the middle here, just walking towards the waterhole. They're around 2 years old, and those females are the ones starting to look after the youngsters in the herd. And then at 1.5 years old, roughly, we have Mataya and Bupe. And then this tiny little elephant at the back who is suckling the fingers of his keeper Aaron is Kasungu. And Kasungu is only 5 months old. He was rescued in January this year after a very large-scale human-elephant conflict incident that happened up on the Malawi border, whereby he lost his herd, and he was only about 5 weeks old at the time. So it was very, very challenging trying to raise him. But he's pulled through the kind of vulnerable stage, and he's now doing really, really well. But what you'll see is that he's more motivated to be with his keepers and getting a lot of comfort and nurture and security than some of the big elephants who are more willing to play and socialize and get stuck in into the mud hole. And so I'm just going to walk a bit closer to the elephants with Oliver's help. Oliver, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, Oliver.
Oh, here we go. Thanks, Oliver. So Oliver is keeping me safe. So whilst I'm the director of the project, I don't walk close with the elephants or handle them unless we have any veterinary situations, because we want to keep these elephants as wild as possible. So they're not used to having people walk around them who they don't know. Hi, Kennedy.
Mhm.
Who have we got here? We've got Bupe in the mud. So Bupe is demonstrating the importance of his mud hole and his water hole. Deliso is shaking his head because he doesn't like me standing here. He's not used to it. So at this time of year, it's actually winter here in Zambia. And usually the days would be a bit colder, but we've had a drought this year. And so our temperatures are hotter than usual, and we have less water and less greenery than we would usually have at this time of year. And these elephants are demonstrating the need for their water right now.
So, Rachel, why is water so important for the elephants?
So for elephants, as well as all the wildlife in the parks, they really focus their daily habits and movements around water. Water is life, and we all need water to drink. But water here in the
Yes.
park through the water holes is important for these elephants for cooling down as well. So they're starting to get muddy. Getting muddy like this helps them remove the ticks from their skin, helps protect them from sun damage, because the mud forms like a sunblock. And it also provides them very important socializing opportunities where they play a lot in the mud and get excited together. But cooling down is really, really important, and having access to large volumes of water to drink is incredibly important for them.
So, do they have enough access for the waters?
So at the moment, this is the only water hole that we access, and it is a man-made water hole here in the park, and we're pumping water into it. This park is 5,000 hectares, and there's 2 water holes across the whole park. So really this park is in need of more water for the wildlife to access, to be able to naturalize themselves like this. Whilst the elephants are here right now enjoying it, there's not other wildlife around, but once the elephants disappear off, we'll also find giraffe and various antelope species and zebra and even the rhino coming to access the water. So the water holes are the life source of the park. And with the current drought that we're experiencing, we're very nervous about water accessibility across the country. But obviously Lusaka National Park is going to be no exception.
So it's very hard for elephants to find water access right now.
So in the larger national parks, which have rivers and lakes in them, what we're seeing is a shift in behavior. The elephants are, spending more time close to those water sources and less dispersed than they would have already been. So in the wet season, you usually find elephants disperse into national parks because lots of temporary water holes are forming. And the smaller rivers become bigger rivers. But this year, because of the lack of rain that we've had, it's really changed how elephants are moving in those larger national parks. This little elephant is very interested in us. This is Kasungu.
So cute.
Yeah. And the orphans here are protected against the natural system in that sense, because we are looking after them, providing them with milk. So you just saw them drinking their milk.
Yeah,
That was 2 liters of milk in a bottle, and they get those bottles every 3 hours around the clock. So we're providing them with milk formula for their sustenance and what they're requiring for growth at this young age, and we're also providing them with additional water. So these elephants are protected, but in the wild, elephants are going to be struggling to find water sources,
yeah,
or they will be gravitating towards water sources that are existing, and that will put additional pressures on those areas.
yeah,
So the big challenge that we have with elephants becoming orphaned is due to the human elephant conflict a lot of the time, and a lot of that situation happens when elephants are congregating near water, and so are the people. People rely on the
yeah,
water for hydration, for fishing, for irrigation of their crops, and the elephants are relying on the water for drinking and for cooling down. And so we are very concerned that this year there will be increased human-elephant conflict, which is, one of the big drivers of having orphaned elephants. And so, in general, we're worried about conservation across the nation, with increased levels or anticipated levels of conflict, and also poaching as communities become more desperate for resource.
yeah.
Already this year, it doesn't look super dry around us
Mm-hmm.
because you can see the green leaves on the trees. But those green leaves are rapidly starting to fall away, and we're looking to be heading into a very long dry spell. And because of the lack of rain already this year, we're seeing a lot of failed crops, which means communities that are subsistence living are going to be struggling without food. And so then when elephants come and put their presence into those same spaces, competing for the same resource, there's going to be a lot less tolerance for those elephants. So there's also a concern that could lead to increased levels of poaching as people become quite desperate for survival. So I'm painting a fairly bleak picture towards this year, but it's
Yeah,
one of the realities
yeah,
that we're currently facing. And whilst I'm speaking about bleak things, the elephants are looking like they're having an amazing time in the
yeah.
mud.
Okay, so someone says, can you make extra water holes yourself? Well, we mentioned it in our newsletter, like you want to make a water hole. So yeah, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so what we would love to do is to create another water hole in the park here, so that we are providing the elephants with an additional opportunity to get into water and have accessibility to water that isn't just the same location every day. Obviously, right now we're repetitively coming into the same area all the time, and for their abilities to start exploring the park more and becoming more naturalized, it would be wonderful for them to have an additional water hole that they can utilize. But also, incredibly importantly, is that it would be accessible for all the wildlife in the park,
Yeah,
not just the elephants, but the many antelope species here, the rhino, the giraffe. Everything needs access to water and to be able to cool down in these hot temperatures. As I mentioned, it's winter right now, but today is 30 degrees. So this is unseasonably hot, and the animals do need to cool down, as demonstrated over there.
yeah. Do you know which elephant is that, Rachel? Who's in the water?
Is that Bupe?
Okay,
Bupe.
yes, okay. So I will translate a little bit in Dutch. Wat Rachel dus eigenlijk probeert te zeggen is dat nou ja, olifanten hebben het water echt nodig. Alleen vanwege de extreme droogte in Zambia wordt dat dus veel moeilijker om te zoeken. En dat is dus ook gaande bij de bevolking. En daardoor ontstaan er veel meer mens-olifant conflicten. En dat resulteert zich dan in ja, dat mensen meer gaan stropen, et cetera. Dus daarom is het zo belangrijk dat er genoeg water blijft. En daarom willen we dus een waterput gaan bouwen. En wij gaan daarvoor bijdragen voor Game Rangers International. Dus als je wilt doneren, heel graag. Dat kan ook via de link in onze bio of in de stories. En ondertussen gaan we eventjes nog lekker kijken naar het modderbad van de olifantjes. De olifantjes die wij in ons peetouderprogramma hebben zijn Chikumbi, Daliso en Wambayi. En die zijn dus hier ook te zien. We hebben ook WP in ons peetouderprogramma, maar die staat nog niet op onze website. Die komt eerdaags online. Dus je kan ook altijd nog WP straks adopteren via ons. So they're very playful, right?
Yeah, I think they're demonstrating the importance of having this mud hole access. As I say, it's great for their skin. It's, you know, developing their muscles even, allowing them to play, which as well as developing strength, it also reinforces bonds and helps their relationship. So there's so many benefits to having this kind of interaction.
Yeah, we see Daliso and Wambayi several times sparring with each other. Like not now, but we have many pictures with Daliso and Wam. So they are very friends, right?
They are, that's right. Yeah, so Daliso and Wam have been raised together for a good couple of years now. And they've developed a good relationship. What we see with elephants who are similar sizes is they kind of buddy up, because if you're going to spar with a partner, you want to pick someone your own size.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense, so that you're testing each other and there's not a clear winner. So Daliso and Wam have become good buddies. They're often seen together, and so those two will actually move to the release facility together. We always ensure that when we move them on, wherever possible, we try and make sure two go together, so that they have the comfort and the reassurance of their friend as they enter into a new herd, because that's a very scary time for them. Joining a herd of bigger elephants is not as easy as it might seem. Even though they're elephants and they're the same species, these young elephants from the nursery will actually gravitate more towards their keepers that go with them than they will the new elephants. But we're hoping that they will remember Mbila and Shizongo, who moved last year. So they've had a year apart, but their memories are pretty good. So hopefully there'll be a nice reuniting of those relationships when they move to this next space.
Yes. Okay, so someone is asking how much money do we need for one water hole? So you mentioned like $20,000.
I think, yes. So in our goal of $20,000, we would be able to implement a natural looking water hole with a viewing hide that would enable visitors to the park to be able to watch wildlife respectfully.
A bit like a bit like the Discovery Center, right?
Yes, so but a much smaller version of that. One of the things that we feel is quite important when watching wildlife is that it's done in a very respectful way, and where possible, people are hidden from the animals so that they can really watch natural behaviors. And so, you know, we're lucky that actually nobody is in this area right now, but this is a national park, and so it's accessible by the public, which is wonderful. It's an opportunity for people to come and see wildlife, but we want to encourage that wildlife viewing is done, you know, in an enclosed space, so that you're not disturbing the animals, and that way you also get a better viewing opportunity. So we'd really like to promote that kind of responsible tourism in this park, and then maybe that can be a model for some of the other parks across the country.
Yeah. Let's check. Yeah, this campaign, someone is asking, do the local communities have running water to access also, or could this be a joint campaign to raise funds for the wildlife and the community? So we're collecting actually money right now for the waterhole specific, But you can also donate to Game Rangers International, and then it will also go to the community as well. Yes.
That's correct. Yeah. So we're obviously looking to implement water inside this national park, and this national park is inside the city. So this is a huge green space in the middle of a city, which is quite unique. And our goal by being present in this park is trying to connect the wider community to the wildlife, so that people care about wildlife. They foster a feeling of ownership and desire to support the sustainability of wildlife across the country. And that's really the focus of the Education Centre, to bring that level of exposure to the young kids who don't otherwise have an opportunity to get out to some of the national parks.
That's something so
Zambia is a
great.
very large country. It takes many hours to reach some of these national parks where you see beautiful wildlife, and it's not accessible to everybody. So the goal of this place is to really bring the animals to the people, so that everyone can understand the value of what they have. But our focus with the release facility and a lot of our work on the border of Kafue National Park, that is where we're working with communities where we are looking to implement boreholes and assist them with increased water availability, because in these more remote areas, that is where we're seeing the conflict between elephants and people. So bringing water to the communities is an incredibly important part of our work, and it's also something that we are strongly fundraising for.
Yeah. I will ask, I will question, no, wait. I reply on a question that's in Dutch, Rachel. Hi Mirjam, je vraagt of dat Mara er ook is. Mara is een olifantje uit Sri Lanka, dus we zijn nu live in Zambia. Dus helaas is Mara niet te zien vandaag. Leuk Ati dat je erbij bent. Dankjewel. Hi Daphne, leuk dat je de Liso hebt geadopteerd. Leuk om hem te zien, hè? Ik zal eventjes vragen of dat de Liso nog in beeld kan komen. Rachel, can you put the Liso? So where is the Liso? Can we see him?
Yeah, let me just move. Deliso's there with the elephant with the tusks. Oh,
Yeah.
hang on, moving myself.
Yeah, he has small tusks. Yes.
Here he is. So he's kind of right in the center of the frame now. This is Deliso.
Gusta, dit is ook de Liso.
So as I mentioned, he's very ready to be moved to the release facility now. When elephants reach this age, they also start to behave a little bit more cheeky.
Yeah.
And Sunday's nodding his head. Sunday has been an elephant keeper with us for many years, and he's experiencing Deliso becoming a bit cheeky and a bit rude. And that's when we really can see that it's time to move these elephants on, because it's very hard for as a person to reprimand a large and heavy elephant who is probably 650 kilos now. So what we would rather do is move them out to the release herd, where the older elephants will put him in his place and make sure that he knows his manners.
Yeah. So he will join the elephants in our foster parent program, like Nakala, Olimba, and Kaseva.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and Famfu.
Yes. Yeah, although Mpamvu is now released.
Yes.
So Mpamvu is not going to probably meet him anytime soon, we hope.
Maybe
because he's busy exploring the national park.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wonderful.
Ja. Dus voor degenen die peetouders zijn van Famfu. Famfu is terug naar de natuur. Hij is natuurlijk al een paar keer weg geweest, maar ook weer teruggekomen. En zeker in onze volgende nieuwsbrief zal dit ook aan bod komen. Maar Famfu, het lijkt er dus op dat Famfu nu echt terug is. Dus Daliso en Wam zullen hem waarschijnlijk nog niet zien. Maar hij zal net zoals Shamilindu wel terugkomen. Om te kijken hoe het gaat met de andere olifantjes en de verzorgers natuurlijk. Dus dat is heel leuk nieuws. Thank you, Koen. Hoi
The
Cindy.
elephants are now busy spraying us with dust.
Oh, you have to watch out.
Yeah.
Hoi Cindy, wij hebben Olimma geadopteerd. Zij zit ook in Zambia. Ja, dat klopt, maar ze is helaas hier niet te zien. De lijf is in Lusaka. Dat is de babyolifantjesopvang. Dus Olimma zit al in de KVW Release Facility. Dus dat is helaas niet hier. So, Rachel, how long do they take their bath? Like,
For as long as they would
yeah,
like. We don't rush them, but we've now been here for about 20 minutes. I think they're probably wrapping up, and what they will start to do is, although one is heading into the water, once they've had their mud bath and their cool down, then they'll head back into the bush and look for food.
yeah,
So their daily routine is to spend as much time as possible out in the park, as naturalized as possible. So they're out from 6:30 in the morning, and then at lunchtime we bring them back for their midday feed and any health checks and assessments we need to do. That's also where we have a 1-hour viewing opportunity through the Discovery Centre, which
yeah,
allows people to see them through a viewing hide, so that they can really connect to these elephants and understand their story and their place in conservation. And then for the whole afternoon, the elephants are out here in the park, and they'll come in as it gets dark. So
yeah,
whilst it's dark, we do keep them in a stable at nighttime, just because we need to be able to manage them safely, and our team's safety. It also gives us an opportunity to provide them with a soft bed where they can sleep throughout the night and
yeah,
just get up for their feeds every 3 hours. And for these bigger elephants like Deliso, we bring a lot of browse in from the park so that they've also got access to food throughout the night, because naturally elephants would be feeding at night time. And it's one of the big changes that they will face when they move to the release facility, because we don't have a stable there. So they will start to transition into
yeah.
living in a large enclosure at nighttime with the other elephants, so that they are still moving around, feeding at nighttime, and kind of socializing, both day and night, which is more normal for elephants.
Okay. So we've got another question. Can you tell us more about how you work with the rangers to support the difficulties of their work? You mentioned in your newsletter about mental health awareness.
So with our ranger program, so our resource protection program, we support the community rangers who work in the game management areas that buffer the national park. And we provide them with accessibility to resources, training, and welfare support to bolster their existing positions, which is to secure the area. So yeah, mental health awareness is something that's important to us. We understand that a lot of the rangers, they're on the front line of conservation work, so they really are the people who are risking their lives on a daily basis to save these animals, like the orphans. And in doing so, they will encounter very dangerous situations, very traumatic situations at times. We've worked with rangers who have lost colleagues in the line of duty. So, you know, for those individuals, it's really important to us that we ensure that they have access to support to help them overcome these traumas, and enable them to continue to sort of flourish in their workspaces. But yeah, giving them the welfare support, both medically, physically, and mentally, is very important to us.
Dankjewel, Cindy. So that's why Camp Phoenix is also built right for safety for the for the keepers and for all the other people. Like it's built higher from the river.
Yeah. So the release facility, and just to reinforce the help that you gave
Yeah,
us, A few years ago, we had some very bad flooding, and I think now we're experiencing droughts.
Yeah.
But a few years ago, we had some terrible floods, which really did damage a lot of our camp and made life difficult and dangerous for everyone living there, as well as the elephants. And so now we have actually an amazing infrastructure, which means that people are living in solid structures and working in solid structures that are waterproofed,
Yeah.
that withstand the rain, that are, not subject to flooding if the waters do rise around the camp again, which they may well at some point in the future, but we'll be in a much better place to manage that from now on. So yes, it's important to us that the teams have appropriate living and working conditions when they're in the park. And in general, people living in these remote spaces, they're not at the forefront. So the
No.
welfare conditions has often been overlooked at times. And that's something that we're committed to changing, to making sure that the rangers, which is all of us really working in conservation, the elephant keepers are part of that ranger force working on the front line, as much as the rangers who are patrolling with their weapons, and making sure that all of them have a high level of welfare and support to conduct their jobs safely.
Yeah. So also, do each elephant has their own keeper, or do they have more?
They do not have their own keeper, so I'm going to highlight the team here. So you've already met Oliver.
Yes.
And we've got Sunday and Aaron.
Hello.
And we've got Hezron and Kennedy. And so today we have 5 elephant keepers,
Yeah.
with the 7 elephants.
Okay.
And so the team work on a rota so that there's always a presence with the elephants. So at daytime, this team is walking with them in the park, keeping them safe, bringing them milk every 3 hours, and then this team will knock off at nighttime, and another 2 keepers will be there with them throughout the night. So when they're in their stables, they will never be left unattended. They will always have somebody with them, feeding them milk every 3 hours. And then when the night shift goes back to bed, the day team will kick on. We've got some warthogs joining us in the background. I don't know if you can see them over there.
Oh, yeah. Very small.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
important. It's important that the elephants aren't too familiar with just one-on-one keeper care, because if that was to happen, and if a keeper became sick, then his elephant would
Yeah.
also become very distraught. So the whole team here are working closely with all the elephants, and they respond to all the keepers. So that way, yeah, it means that it doesn't matter if the team have to change. And in total, we have 9 elephant keepers on the team at the moment.
Okay. So for the people who are watching, you can ask our questions and Rachel will reply to it. So please don't hesitate to ask. Voor de Nederlandse volgers, als jullie vragen willen stellen, dan kan dat. Het mag ook over de olifantjes zelf zijn. En nu heb je de kans om iets te vragen aan Rachel zelf. Dus maak er gebruik van.
So I think the elephants are starting to leave the waterhole, and potentially they will start to forage again.
Yeah.
It's also important for them to seek the shade in the forest as well, where it's cooler.
So someone is asking, how old are these elephants? Like which?
So the smallest one you can see is 5 months old.
Yeah.
The largest you can see is 3 years old. So we've got a varying age range of 5 months, a couple that are about 1.5 years old, a couple that are about 2 years old, and a couple that are about 3 years old.
Yeah.
And then anything older than this, we would move them to the release facility where they're preparing for release back in the wild. They usually join the release facility at 3 years old, and they usually go back into the wild when they're teenagers. So possibly around 11 to 13 years is when they're starting to take those steps independently of our support.
Okay. So someone's asking, how long does it take to build a water hole?
That's actually a very good question. I think if we can reach our target, then we will be able to bring in the machinery required to dig it, and it shouldn't take us too long.
Yeah.
I would like to think within a few weeks we'd be able to implement something. Yeah.
Okay.
But we'd also it's drilling a borehole, so we need to survey the land, find the water spot, drill the borehole, implement the pumps and systems, and dig out the land. But feasibly, that can all be done within a month.
That's great. So
yeah, so maybe I should switch back on. I think we're kind of losing our elephants, but just wanted to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you to Friends of the Elephants in Holland for all of your support over the last 10 years. It's amazing for us to have such consistent support and friendships throughout this time, and it really makes a huge difference to what we're able to achieve. So I wanted to thank you hugely to you, Amber, and everybody at Friends of the Elephants, and everybody who's watching and supporting. Thank you so much on behalf of our whole team here at the Elephant Orphanage and Game Rangers International.
Of course. And we love to support you. And thank you so much for this live, that you are able to get timing for this, and really appreciate it. Yes. So
yeah, you're welcome. It's nice to bring it to life for you.
Yes, it is. And I think the foster parents are very lucky to see this. So it's a really nice opportunity. So for people who like to donate for the water hole, please go to Vrienden van de Olifant, Instagram, story or bio. And there you can find a link to donate. So please, and thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
Oké, bye Rachel.
Bye.
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 En voor iedereen die nog vragen heeft gesteld, daar komen we later op terug. Dat zullen we beantwoorden, want deze live gaan we ook delen op onze socials. In ieder geval heel erg bedankt voor het kijken allemaal. En leuk dat jullie er waren. Oké, bye Rachel.
Bye everyone, thank you.